Join us and discover beautiful beaches, rugged landscapes, pretty towns, desolate mountain ranges that sweep down to stunning lakes, unique architecture, history and folklore, no shamrocks, no shillelaghs, and definitely no shenanigans, just naked Ireland. Now, we visited the city cemetery in Belfast a short while ago, and today we cross the Falls Road to this place, Milltown Cemetery. It's certainly not as attractive as the city cemetery, but it's a place that's indelibly imprinted on our consciousness, not least because of the bizarre Michael Stone grenade attack on Republican mourners here in 1988, which was splashed across our TV screens, but also because of the Republican plot itself, in which notorious figures from the Republican paramilitaries are buried, including the IRA hunger striker Bobby Sands. That aside, there are many other interesting graves in Milltown that have no connection with the Troubles. This large Celtic Cross, for example, commemorates Catholic priests and is part of a section of the cemetery celebrating over 24 good priests, as they're described, most of whom had strong pastoral links to West Belfast. It's an impressive high Celtic cross. Indeed, this part of the cemetery has some of the most prestigious looking graves and memorial stones erected here since the cemetery opened in 1869, specifically to cater for Belfast's expanding population of Catholics. We saw what was called the poor ground when we visited City Cemetery, and Milltown has a similar area. In fact, there are 3 sections of open space here, each the size of a football pitch, in which over 80,000 people are buried in unmarked graves. A large number of these people died in the 1919 flu pandemic. It's sobering to think that so many people could be laid to rest here without even so much as a simple headstone. And if you look just beyond those trees at the bottom of the cemetery, you can see Belfast's town centre. The large rectangular building is the city hospital. Now you can guess, as we see the tricolour flying here, that we're approaching the Republican area of the cemetery. Now, to put things in context, while the Republican plot is the area most associated with Milltown, in fact, the majority of the 200,000 people buried in this 55-acre cemetery are ordinary Catholics. This first memorial we arrive at is the County Antrim Memorial. It was established in 1966, so before the most recent Troubles started, on the 50th anniversary of the Easter Rising. But this is not a memorial solely to modern republicanism. You'll notice that the dead remembered here date back as far as 1797, a year before the United Irishmen Rebellion. That organisation, the United Irishmen, was inspired by the American and French revolutions and was founded by Presbyterian merchants who sought alliance with what they described as Catholic majority fellow countrymen. Modern republicanism, also represented in and around this Antrim memorial, had no such Presbyterian buy-in. We're now looking at the scene of the most famous Michael Stone attack on the cemetery on the 17th of March 1988. Mourners had gathered here to bury 3 members of the IRA shot dead by British SAS in Gibraltar. Stone threw grenades into the crowd and opened fire with pistols. He was chased in this direction down to the motorway by a large crowd who caught him and beat him until he was rescued and arrested by police. What was especially horrific about the attack was that it was all caught on film by news crews from around the world. But IRA members are not the only Republicans buried here, as you can see from this large memorial to the Workers' Party, or this memorial to Ogla na HÉireann, which refers more generally to soldiers of Ireland. In fact, Milltown has Republicans from the INLA, IPLO and different factions of the IRA buried in the cemetery. The flag to the left of the tricolour here represents the Republican youth movement Fianna Éireann, while we have the starry plough to the right representing the Irish Republican Socialist movement. A little further up we have what's known as the New Republican Plot, but just before we arrive there, if this video's been interesting or informative, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe hitting the bell icon. Your comments are of course always welcome too, but please, due to the sensitive nature of this cemetery visit, think about what you write before you type. So the sea of little flags signals our arrival at this most recent of Republican memorials. I think the first thing I noticed was the space at the end of the left-hand side for new burials. There's a real hope here in Belfast and beyond that this phase of our history is over. There's no appetite for more killings on any side of the political divide, and so perhaps if Republicans end up filling these vacant spaces, it'll be because they die of old age. And on the wall at the end of the memorial, we have a copy of the Proclamation of the Irish Republic from 1916 that was read out on the steps of Dublin's GPO by Patrick Pearse, signalling the start of that particular rising and having repercussions for future generations across the island and beyond. And the individual graves here are a who's who of Republican activists that includes those mentioned earlier shot in Gibraltar, as well as hunger strikers like Bobby Sands who died in the H-blocks. I think my point is that however hardline your politics may be, we all have a vested interest in ensuring that the rest of this plot, or any other memorial, Republican or Loyalist, isn't filled with men and women ending their lives violently. And there are so many reminders elsewhere in the cemetery that the violence of the recent Troubles was not unique. As seen here in the Harbison Memorial from 1912, commemorating Republicans imprisoned in County Antrim jails. But the graves in Milltown Cemetery of people killed in conflict extends well beyond the Republican plot and Republican ideology. Here, for example, is the Cross of Sacrifice erected after World War I in honour of British Commonwealth service personnel from both World Wars. There's a total of 154 buried here, as well as 10 foreign national servicemen. And it's nice to see that the cemetery is a haven for wildlife too. Come and wander around, there's some very interesting things to see, and while the Republican plot always seems to dominate the cemetery, just like in the city cemetery close by, there's much more else to see besides. Many of you won't know, for example, that of the unidentified corpses from the Belfast Blitz of 1941, 30 unidentified bodies that bore effects identifying them as Catholics were buried here. Again, just a reminder to like and subscribe, and remember too that you can now donate to the channel by following the link in the second paragraph of the description below the video. Donations simply help create new Naked Ireland content, and any donation large and small makes such a difference. And that's it for today's less than uplifting video, but I hope you got something from it, and I'll see you all soon in the next Naked Ireland film.